Okay, so today we're going to look at cleaning data and creating a pivot table. So the directions on how to clean the data are in the worksheet, but I'm going to go through it real quick. First of all, I want to show you a couple changes I made. So I added the date column that we talked about yesterday, and I added the how are you feeling as a number column, because that gives you the ability to do averages, because you can't average text. So first of all, let's take a look at this. How many minutes were you on your phone? So there are some absurdly large numbers there. So in order to get rid of those, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a column to the left. Well, first of all, I'm going to sort. Sort range. I have a header row. How many minutes were you on your phone? Z to A, sort. So what I've now done is sorted all of the very large numbers to the top. So then I'm going to do a quick formula, and I'm going to say this divided by 60. So this cell divided by 60 gives me the number of hours. So I can sort of judge whether or not that's absurd. So if we come up here, we now know definitively that, sort of these are all ridiculous because that's greater than the number of hours that there are in a day. So that's no good. And let's just go down to, let's delete all the ones down to about 16, which still seems pretty ridiculous. But theoretically, it's possible because there are that many hours in the day. Maybe I'll go down to 14. Anyway, you make some somewhat arbitrary decisions about data. There's no way of knowing whether or not the person actually did that many hours because they're just saying they did. But we're taking out the ones that are ridiculous. So now let's do another one. So how many hours did you sleep last night? So let's this time create a filter. So if I go to how many hours did you sleep last night, I'm going to first of all select none of them and then come down here to the bottom to more than 12. I'm just going to turn that one because more than 12 I can't use as a number. I'm just going to turn it into 12, come in here and change these couple to 12. So come back in here and turn that filter off and create a new filter. So this time I've got how many hours did you exercise? Now you may not remember, but we actually changed this field halfway through from the numbers of hours you exercised to yes or no. Did you exercise? So now what I really want to do is just change anything that isn't yes. I'm going to select all. So no becomes no, yes stays yes. So I can leave those as they are, and all of the rest of these, which are some amount of exercise, other than 0, should become yes. I'll click OK there. I just type in yes, and now I'm going to do that fill down thing as I've done before. So I start by just selecting the first one. I think this is probably a lot of rows of data. So I'm just going to come and scroll down to the bottom after selecting the top cell and get to the very bottom cell. Hold down the Shift key, hit it, and now I've got the entire column selected, and just do Control D, changing them all to yes. The other way to do this, which maybe would be even easier, if we go back to the top, well anyway, we'll just leave it as that. There we go. Now they're all yes. Now all of those are yes. So I actually want to come back to the top and check my filter because I had some zeros, right? So now I want to select only the ones that are 0. And now all of these become no. So I do the same thing. I grab the first one. I just select the first one. Come down to the bottom. Shift, click, Control, D. They're all no. And just, if you would rather, the other way to do this, which is maybe easier for some people, is simply grab the little box, drag it down, and wait till you get to the bottom. You will get there. It just takes a little longer. Often when you come all the way to the very bottom, and you can see on the far right there the indicator moves down, eventually you get to the bottom, and now they're all no. Okay, so turn that filter off. All right, back to the top. Come on. Scrolling takes a long time. This, what computer using, what percentage, you guys can use those if you want to. I don't think they're really all that necessary. So that's the cleaning. So now let's look at pivot tables. So I click the entire spreadsheet. I go to data and I say pivot table. Now this creates a whole new tab down here at the bottom, right? And on this tab, then I see rows, columns, values, and filters. You already know what filters are. Those do what you would expect it to do. If you want to filter out the data, so you're only using some of the data, you can do that. But let's start with some basic things. So let's say for row, I want to do period. And then for columns, I want to do how are you feeling today number. No, not for columns. For values, I want to do how are you feeling today number. So there's my row, and there's my how are you feeling today number. Now right now, this is summing that how are you feeling today. That's not particularly helpful. What I really want is an average. And so now what you see over here is that first period on average is a 3. Second and third on average are a 4. Fifth period on average is a 3. So first and fifth average a meh, whereas second and third actually average feeling good. So that's sort of interesting to note. Let's see if we can complexify this a little bit. So now on the columns, let's put how are you feeling today? And then in the values, let's put how much sleep did you get? How many hours did you sleep last night? So again, on the hours of sleep last night, we want to average that and not sum it, because if you do a sum, then you're summing the total number of people in that pool, in each pool, and that there are different numbers of people. So that's not a valuable comparison. Averaging is a valuable comparison. So now what we note is for those people who feel great, they got 7.24 hours of sleep. For those people who feel good, 7.21. So it does indeed map to how well you feel and the number of hours that you slept. So indeed the people who slept the most, not by a lot, feel great. But certainly the people who slept the most, by quite a bit, report feeling good or great. So that's how a pivot table works. I encourage you to play with it, sort of figure out how you can answer the questions that you want to answer.